Hello YouTube. Sorry I haven't made a video in quite a long time. I hope you can hear me over the sound of my computer. I got a new PC and I got a really good graphics card for it so I can run videos much faster. So I hope it's not too loud there in the background. Today, as promised, I want to talk about this Arabic course book that I've been telling everybody is probably the best book to learn Arabic if you're a foreigner to the Arabic language, learning it as a second language. So before I actually get into the book, I wanted to talk about the book's author, Dr. V. Abdurrahim. So I did some research about the author, and I found some pretty surprising stuff, so I thought, it'd be really good to share, give some kind of background to the book. Whenever I read any sort of book, whether it be linguistics or about, language learning, or even if it's non-language related, I like to know the history and the background about the book. Why was it written? When was it written? Who wrote it? For what purpose? Etc., etc. I think it puts the book in context, gives you a better idea of how to understand the book, gives you a better idea how to use the book, and all those types of things. So I found out that Dr. Abdurrahim, he is actually Indian by ethnicity and origin. So if I butcher these names of some Indian place names, please forgive me. But he was born in the small town of Vaniyambadi in the state of Tamil Nadu, India in 1933. Or Tamil Nadu, maybe. Okay. So basically, when he was growing up in school there, they offered Arabic language as a course in like his elementary and high school and all that kind of stuff. So he took Arabic classes there, but the way they taught Arabic was very dry, very bland. It was like memorizing conjugation tables and certain things like that, which he thought was very outdated, and it really, that's how they teach dead languages like Latin or Syriac and not living languages, and he thought that was just horrible. But at the time, especially here, it says he was born in 1933, so I'm imagining he's going to school in the 40s and early 50s and stuff. The common method across the world, even in the Western world like the United States and Europe, was to do these types of conjugation tables, a lot of rote memorization, and those were like the popular methods. Maybe you might memorize some phrases that you might use, but it was not communication based. It was more of kind of like a intellectual exercise, one may put it. And typically, in the Western world, these were done with Latin and Greek, which were part of the standard curriculum here in America anyways, for really quite a long time. It might have started changing maybe in the 80s or 90s, but before that, like, everybody was learning Latin or Greek. You'd have your average Joe farmer, who's plowing the field, taking a break and sit down and can read a book in Greek. So that's what it used to be like. People could actually do that. I've heard those stories firsthand. So this method, though, he thought was not a good method for living languages. And so at that point, when he was like in school, he decided, I want to design my own curriculum to teach Arabic in a way that fosters communication, in a real way that a living language should be taught. And I think the Western world has really hasn't given him due credit. He may be the originator, actually, of this theory before some Western scholars, because this was quite a long time ago when he started this project. And so when he went to university, he majored in combination of linguistics and English language, English literature. He went on to go to Al Azhar University in Cairo, Egypt, to do a master's and PhD in Arabic philology, or that's kind of the history and the linguistic development of the Arabic language. And then he became a professor in 1969 at the University of Al Madina in Saudi Arabia to teach Arabic philology and to also teach Arabic as a foreign language. And so he, wanted to design his own textbook for these classes. And that's how this book came to be. And you can see at the top of this book, for those of you who can read Arabic, it says Durus al-Lugha al-Arabiyya, which means lessons of the Arabic language, or Arabic language lessons. But I found out after doing more research that the actual full title of the book is Durus al-Lugha al-Arabiyya لغير ناطقين بها. So that means Arabic language lessons for people who are non-speakers of the language. So he really revolutionized the way that Arabic was taught to foreigners in the Arabic world, because the Arabic world was teaching in a very old, outdated style. Maybe they might be using these conjugation tables and have you memorize a bunch of stuff, but typically they just threw you in and it was kind of sink or swim, and they just immersed you in it and you just had to learn it kind of like in a natural way. But he developed this method which he called taqdeem al-usul ala al-furu', which means that you're going to proceed with the foundations before or on top of the like fruits, or the opposite of foundation, the specifics. So like he believed in teaching primary case endings before secondary endings, teaching the basic kind of constructions before the complicated ones. Basically what they call in modern linguistics as scaffolding, or maybe it's even called the I plus method. So it might be relatable to those current teaching methods in modern linguistics if you look in the modern linguistic textbooks. And so he really revolutionized the way Arabic was taught. And he continued to teach at this Al Madina University, I think, for about 30 years. So I'm going to give you some quick facts, like different awards and different achievements that he's had in his life. So he received, it's called the Madahar Rasul Sadaqatullah APA Award in 2012 for Outstanding Arabic Scholar from the Department of Arabic, Persian, and Urdu from the University of Madras, India. He also received a national award for Outstanding Arabic Scholar in 1997 by the former President of India, Dr. S.D. Sharma. He's also credited for being extremely knowledgeable in the Islamic religion. He holds, a master and PhD in Arabic philology from the University of Al Azhar in Cairo, Egypt. He has a bachelor's degree in the English language and literature from the University of Madras, India. And he was a professor of Arabic language for 30 years at the Islamic University of Madina. He taught Arabic as a foreign language all over the world, so it wasn't just in Saudi Arabia, but he taught also in the University of Durman in Sudan, at Khartoum University in Sudan. He also taught in Germany. He taught in Washington, D.C., America, and in the British Guyana. So he's taught Arabic as a foreign language for over 50 years using this book. Actually, this is just the first volume. So the whole book, all 3 volumes, is like this. It's about, it's pretty thick when you stick them all together like that. So it's a real, like, the real deal textbook. And he's an expert in etymology, phonetic change, and semantic development of European language. So he's just not only interested in Arabic linguistics, but he is also very familiar with the linguistics of European languages, which is part of the reason why he was such a good Arabic teacher to foreigners. And he's currently the director of the Translation Center at the King Fahd Glorious Quran Printing Complex, which is in Madina, Saudi Arabia. So as far as I know, he's still alive, still living, still going. He's born in 1933, so he's obviously in his 80s, if not older, but he's still plugging away and still doing his scholarship. And he has his own website too, which is what I was reading some of these facts off, which is drvaniya.com. I can include that in the description below. So I kind of want to give you show you briefly, kind of give you an overview of how the book is laid out. So that's inside cover, Arabic course. And then it goes to the introduction. And then it starts here. It's got pictures and phrases. And it says at the top, Lesson 1, or Ad-Dars al-Awwalu, Lesson 1. And then it keeps going with more pictures and phrases. Pictures and phrases. And then it has an area that says read and write. And it's got some exercises. Then it says Lesson 2. It's got more pictures and phrases. It's got questions to ask you. And then it says read and write these things. And then at the bottom here, you'll see these boxes every so often. It's got a thick line box, and it says Al-Kalimat al-Jadida, which means the new words. So in here it has new vocabulary words. Every lesson will have new vocabulary words. And then with this particular copy, because it's like an English translation, maybe English translation isn't the best way to describe it, but it's meant for English speakers who are learning Arabic. So in the back, it'll have English of like the vocabulary words and try to explain out the exercises in English. And so that's located at the back of the book. And I believe this one's got like 21 lessons in it, the first one. I remember correctly. 23 lessons. Okay. So this one has got 23 lessons in it. When you go over the first book, which is quite thin compared to the other 2 books, it gives you a basic feel for the Arabic language, gives you a lot of the foundations to start, making your own sentences and those types of things. So I would like to continue making a video series about this book and actually teach the lessons in the book and start to go over them. At least I want to go over the whole entire first book. If there's, if people want that, if there's a demand for it. And I also still want to keep doing some other linguistic projects and keep doing some socio-linguistic videos. I think that those are very interesting. I'm pretty interested in sociolinguistics, and I think A lot of people will find them interesting and learn about a lot of different accents and dialects and things like that that are out there that people have never heard about. Especially a lot of foreigners who are learning American English. Predominantly, the English that they see is the English that is, in movies, comes out of Hollywood, and which is really an artificial English, and they're gonna realize that, when they actually speak with native speakers, that they don't talk like that, and probably still be able to communicate, but they're gonna, be surprised, because first of all, a lot of them out of Hollywood kind of have like a Californian style or maybe a standardized American English, which is going to be really quite different than a lot of the natural, normal, local dialects that you hear. Like for me, instance, I have a central Minnesotan accent, um, you know, so it does. I don't sound like somebody from Virginia. I don't sound like somebody from South Carolina. I don't sound like somebody from Texas. I don't sound like somebody from Boston, Massachusetts. And I certainly don't sound like, somebody from Mississippi or Louisiana or Tennessee or even Indiana. I don't sound like somebody from Iowa or even South Dakota. There are noticeable differences and changes that are in each of these dialects. I have one friend who's Somali, but he grew up in the Netherlands. And I was talking to him yesterday, and he noticed that I don't say thank you like standard American English when I'm just talking casually. I say something more like thank you, which is kind of more of a D sound than a TH sound sometimes, which he said, oh, that's kind of almost like Dutch or German. And I said, well, here in Minnesota, we had a lot of Scandinavian, German, and Dutch settlers who originally came here and shaped the accent here. And most of the American accents can be traced back to the original settlers, European settlers who came. But enough about that. We'll get into that more with the sociolinguistic series. I hope you enjoyed this little bit of background here to this book that we will go over for the Arabic language. And I do want to continue doing some German lessons and maybe some Chinese lessons in the future as well. So stay tuned, and thank you for watching.